Despite being one of the most historically consequential nations in human history, the origins of England as a nation are generally unknown. This is due in part to the varying points given as the start of England, with several different years being put forward as the true beginning. This video will go over and explain these various times in English history, and why they can be classified as the origin. First, there is the coming of the Anglo-Saxons and Judes to the land now known as England in the early 400s. Following the withdrawal of the Western Roman Empire from Britain, a power vacuum opened up in the island, which would be settled by the arrival of these Germanic migrants. According to early English writers such as Bede and William of Malmesbury, these peoples were invited over under the leadership of brothers Hengist and Horsa by the British King Vortigern, who used them as mercenaries in his wars against the Picts in exchange for land in the east. Sending for their countrymen from the continent, they are said to have risen up against the Britons, with Hengist ruling as king over a united confederation. The historical authenticity of these claims have largely been thrown out, however, with the story of Hengist and Horsa being regarded as an origin myth rather than true history. Very little is known of this earliest time period, and England would be made up of several competing kingdoms over the next 4 centuries. The next plausible beginning of England can be seen with the emergence of Bretwaldas, a king who wielded influence and prestige as overlord over the other kings in England. The first Bretwalda listed by Bede, who described him as having imperium, was Alla, king of Sussex, who reigned around the end of the 5th century. The title subsequently bounced around the kingdoms, with kings such as Ethelbert of Kent and Oswald of Northumbria being labelled as Bretwalda. The earliest Bretwaldas, however, are also not well known beyond Bede, and the title is also likely one given long after their deaths, with Bede writing during the 7th century. The level of influence wielded by these kings over their neighbours was also limited, with several remaining separate kingdoms. The reign of Alfred the Great of Wessex can be seen as the creation of a single Anglo-Saxon kingdom. During the Viking invasions of the mid-9th century, every other English kingdom fell to the invading Scandinavians. Fighting them to a standstill, Alfred maintained his realm, which also included Western Mercia, labeling him as King of the Anglo-Saxons in his later reign, around the mid-880s. This kingdom comprised only the southern part of England, however, the rest falling under the dominion of Danish warlords. Finally, a kingdom which ruled over the entirety of the English people was established during the reign of Alfred's grandson Ethelstan. Alfred's son Edward had succeeded in beginning the reconquest of territories lost to the Vikings, but this endeavor would only end with the successes of his son. Following the annexation of Northumbria in 927, Ethelstan began to be referred to as King of the English, recognized as ruling over the united English nation.